After a week off, the SRN Grill Series resumes here tonight on the Speed Racing Network. Tonight, the drivers take on the ever hypnotizing scenic stretches of New Hampshire. Dustin Montgomery has ruled this series with 4 wins on the year, but with a week break, we see a different winner here tonight. Here tonight, it's myself, William Tiller, joined here tonight by my last night's colleague, Dylan Godinez. I think I got it right this time, Dylan. And of course, James Parfit up here in the booth with us here tonight. And Dylan, it's going to be a different class of car here tonight. Xfinity cars at New Hampshire. What are the folks at home in store for in this race?
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. You did pronounce it great, by the way. But definitely a lot of talent tonight. This is the best that you're going to see from the SRN series. This is going to be pretty interesting. I'm expecting some similar racing to the trucks that we saw last night, but definitely a lot faster pace. Definitely some closer racing, and this one's going to be exciting.
I always love to look on the technical side of things. And Dylan, we looked at those trucks at New Hampshire, the shifting aspects, the tire strategies, things like that. As we take a look at qualifying taking shape here, what's the different technical aspect between the truck and the Xfinity car?
An Xfinity car's got way more horsepower, so this car is going to be set up a lot differently than a truck. It's going to tend to be loose. This is going to be a handful for some of these drivers because, as we saw last night, when you had some fresh Goodyears under you, the truck got very loose. So I'm expecting to see if it pays suit tonight with how it was previously. You're going to see a lot of loose handling race cars early here in the run.
As we watch Dylan Montgomery, he's on the top of the board with a 30.38 coming to this line, and we'll see. It looks like there's the point standings right there. And I talked about Dylan Montgomery with 4 wins on the season. Dylan, we look at the rest of that points table, pretty close within that cut line, but it has been the Dustin Montgomery show this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a different stack up here compared to, with the trucks. You still have Tyler Justice there with 2 wins, Gabriel Ellison, Sean Powell, Max Service, a bunch of guys here kind of spreading across the board here with different wins. But looking down toward the cut line, you have Brandon Burkhart, Drew Ballesteros, Scott Kalal, Paul Bliss. I mean, you can see a bunch of these guys down here toward the bottom make a surprise upset tonight.
And sort of what we saw last night in the Glitch Truck Series there, I think some of these drivers know how many races are left. There's only 3 races left this season. Of course, we go to the high banks at Talladega next week. So I feel like here tonight, Dylan, this is the track that you want to get a good finish. Maybe a top 15, maybe a top 10 if you're on that cut line. Because me and you both know if you're going to put it all on the line at Talladega next week, you're in for an uphill battle.
Yeah, you never want to put all your cards into Talladega. Anything can happen. Nothing is ever guaranteed there. So this is kind of just, a last guarantee. This is one of your last standard racetracks before you go to wild card places like that.
Taking a look at that qualifying session taking place here on the Speed Racing Network as folks join us alongside on YouTube and watching Brandon Burkhart take some laps here. And another thing I like to ask Dylan as we watch these qualifying laps take place, we watched last night's race. Of course, it was a out of the gate, just a incredible race through that first stage. Now through the rest of the race, we saw a different race altogether. It was a little bit more chippy. There was some pit strategies throughout. Of course, it was a dominating win that we saw last night, but different strategies throughout. So how important is this qualifying run?
Qualifying is really going to set you apart at this racetrack. You're going to have to be on your game. If you can get up there towards the front, that's less cars you got to pass every time that a caution comes out or after you go and pit. So, definitely important at a track like this.
Watching Seth Berger in that 77, look at that paint scheme. Looking good. We'll ride on board on how he's going to attack New Hampshire here tonight. And you see he's a little bit higher on that corner, Dylan.
Yeah, that's the higher horsepower that you're seeing. He's going to have to arc that corner a little bit different. Now, you're going to still see some different driving styles like we saw last night. Guys were cutting down below the yellow line. Some guys were taking a wide entry. There's all kinds of ways to skin the cat here, and, that high horsepower is going to make it a handful on those cold tires.
See where he lands on that grid. He's going to be currently inside the top 10 with a 10th position run. See if he can better that here on the second lap, or if he's going to shut that car down. About 4 minutes to go here in this qualifying session. If you're joining along with us
Yep,
here on YouTube,
still
nope, he's
loose.
going to spin it off a 2.
Those cold tires we were talking about with that high horsepower, it's easy to get very generous on corner exit. You could see that being a problem here late in the runs.
Yeah, and I actually love how you mentioned that because coming off of last night's race, we saw that first stage drivers really didn't suffer with that too much. But once we got that first pit stop out of the way, we started to see a lot more sliding coming off of 2 trucks getting a lot more loose. Battles for position became a lot harder because you didn't know what kind of handling you're going to have in your truck on those cold tires. And we actually had some cautions on restarts as well.
Yeah. Not hoping for any incidents for anybody tonight, but I'm expecting to see a lot tighter racing as the trucks had a little bit of an easier feel to them. It's probably going to be a little bit tighter of a field this race.
We're watching the field take place here. Tyler Justice, that 6 machine here on the Z Grills series. And Dylan, we're coming off a week at New Hampshire. Next week, we head to Talladega, the High Banks. And from the few races that we've seen this week, what are some of the things that have stood out to you as far as the field? Of course, you drove in the Tuesday night series. What are some of the things that you've seen now on the broadcaster point of view?
Definitely a different perspective. I feel like I'm better at driving than I am broadcasting, as it is fun. But what I've noticed that's different is just the amount of skill difference from series to series. SRN has collected a great group of drivers here, and it puts on a great show no matter which one you're watching, whether it's Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night. But it gives a different perspective, and gives you something to think about going into this race possibly next year when I have another go at it. It's definitely been eye-opening. I feel like I'm in school watching these guys race.
Sort of scouting the competition, if you will, and watching Tyler Justice take on his qualifying run. And you see that 6 machine, he's pretty good in those point standings. Wants to get a good run here, and mainly they want to keep Montgomery out of victory lane. And as many races as he's won, Dylan, this series has been pretty wide open. And a few of these races that I remember back, of course, we had a week off, and then I was absent for a few weeks here in the Z Grills series. Those races came down to the very end. Those are races that he just positioned himself well to get the victories. It wasn't really blowouts from what I remember. And that just goes to show you that a few of these guys may have just gotten shut out of victory lane at the very end.
Yeah, anything can happen. Racing's never a guarantee. You never want to let your guard down. So it's kind of, one of those deals where it's anybody's fight here closing into the playoffs.
Just a few more minutes remain in this qualifying session. Nobody has yet to knock off Montgomery at the top of that table. Once again, we want to thank you for tuning in to the broadcast here at the top of the hour, 9 p.m. on the Speed Racing Network. We jumped in here just a little bit early to watch these drivers take on their qualifying runs. And from what we've seen so far, Dylan, Montgomery is still dominating at the top. And one of the things also from last night that stood out is on that restarts here tonight, folks. Watch out for that. If Montgomery can qualify first and still get a good jump on these restarts, it's going to be very hard to keep him out of victory lane.
We also saw a few trucks the night before, get good runs from the rear. We saw like Dean Brummett, for example. He started way back in the field and he ended up bringing home a second place finish. So, just because you didn't get a good qualifying run in, it doesn't mean you're out of this one.
Absolutely. As it looks like the qualifying session has wrapped up, let's take a look at our official starting grid here tonight at New Hampshire in the SRN Z Grills Series. Starting in the pole position, our points leader will be Dustin Montgomery in the 12. Starting next to him will be Vincent Cortez in the 23. Next row will feature Tyler Justice and Adrian Schumacher in that 82. Next row will have Sean Powell on the 1 and Max Service in the 81 as well. In the next row, we have Blake Hensley in the 31 and Scotty Reinshield in the 99. Next row, we have Logan Truitt in the 35 and Brandon Burkhart in the 11th spot with Seth Berger in that 77 and David Robinson in that 46 will round out our top 12. Looking at our 13th position here tonight, we have Paul Bliss in the 85. Jonathan Bauer will be 14th, and rounding out our field will be Jim Harris in that 18. 15 cars will take on this scenic track that is New Hampshire, a hypnotizing track as we watch along as the pace car takes us into 1 and 2. And I expect a very good race here tonight. Dylan, what do you think as we creep up towards the start of this race?
Man, I'm excited. I'm ready to go. This is the first race that I'm getting to commentate for the Z Grills series, and this is the best of the best. This is the best that the SRN series has to offer, and the superstars are going to be on show tonight.
They will indeed as the field creeps into 3 and 4. Dustin Montgomery looks to continue that run he's had all season, 4 victories so far. We're coming off a week off in this series. See if things can get back to where they left off at Chicagoland. As the pace car pulls off, Dustin Montgomery in the 12 takes the field roaring to the drop of the green flag as he takes us into 1.
Standing out here towards the rear of the pack. Everybody's trying to make a jump.
Battle for the lead into 3 and 4. Montgomery to the inside, Cortez to the outside. We're not even one lap in. These guys are already battling for the lead down that front stretch. Cortez will take the first lap here in the Z Grills series from New Hampshire. That 23 machine's trying to make himself known as we come off a 2. Into 3 and 4 we go. Cortez still leading the field as he comes off of Fuller. Montgomery behind him in that 12. Very frantic first lap there, Dylan. Cortez leads, but we already see early battles in this race.
You can see he is chopping wood with that steering wheel there. He is battling a loose race car here with those cold tires.
One of the things that we spoke about at the start of this race, watch out for that cold equipment, watch out for cold tires. How much of a factor is that going to be in tonight's race? And we'll watch this battle right here between Service and Hensley. This is to crack inside of the top 5. And both these drivers, although a small field here tonight at New Hampshire, Dylan, I think that makes the race a little bit more compact. You can't really afford to lose positions as much.
I completely agree. There's also nowhere to hide in a small field like that. So if you make a mistake, you are going to the back.
A little bit of an old school modified style of race here at New Hampshire. It's famous for that here in the hills of Loudon, the modifieds. And with this type of field, it reminds me of that, Dylan. A little bit of a scrape on the top side wall. Smallest mistake you get loose could be your race. On the flip side, though, as we look at the top of the grid, Vincent Cortez still leading. Montgomery, though, still holding pace behind our leader 5 laps into this race.
Definitely still some shuffling going on as opposed to last night. Everybody kind of got sorted out at about this time, and, guys are still going for passes here.
Max Service moving up the grid there in the 8th spot. He's just down 2 spots from the drop of the green flag. I got to love that paint scheme, though, Dylan. It's giving me old school 90s vibe with that purple and turquoise on the 81.
Yeah, it's kind of like that laser tag carpet, we all knew and loved as kids. But I'm a big fan of some bright race cars. DG Motorsports, we have some bright race cars ourselves. But definitely some good-looking cars out here tonight, and everybody's holding it together here.
Pretty cool so far here tonight. 7 laps into this race. No caution flag on the racetrack. We'll have a stage break on lap 40. And we watched it last night, Dylan. That stage break, these drivers get hungry. They turn into dogs on the racetrack. They try to get that stage win, those stage points, and they race it out to the end. But here in this race, a little bit of a different tempo as we're seeing early battles for position as Brandon Burkhart's trying to get around service in the 81.
Dives down deep in here and see if he's going to make it stick. He takes that very low line, almost scrubbing the inside. Looks like he's possibly going to make it stick. I wonder if that high groove is going to come into factor late in the run.
Brandon Burkhart racing out of Indiana is looking to that inside, trying to get around service here. Both drivers trying to quietly move up the grid. And I think, Dylan, you brought up a good point to start off this race. Watch out for some of these sleeper drivers, some of these drivers that may not qualify very well, but are going to be fast during this race, especially during this first stage. I feel like this is the stage, Dylan, that you can really lay it all out on the line. You can see what your car has, get into that first stage pit stop, maybe adjust a few things, keep it rolling after that. But as the field rolls into 3 and 4, Logan Truitt in that 35 will round out our top 10.
Yeah, racing when you have this first stage here, it's kind of like a, different feeling as opposed to the rest of the race. It's almost like a fail-safe. You can drive as hard as you want, and you know that there's going to be a caution that you can come and get some tires. So why not take the risk? Why not go for that pass while you know that there is going to be a chance to get some new tires?
Check out a battle right here between Tyler Justice and Schumacher. This is for a podium spot on the racetrack. 10 laps into this race. Schumacher has been very strong this season, but I touched on it, Dylan. Tyler Justice, one of those drivers that has just been right there trying to crack through, make himself known as one of those drivers to watch out for when those playoffs start.
Yeah, he's definitely looking good here. He's definitely being a little more patient than we've seen some of these other guys be, right here in this run. He's not trying to go for the crazy move just yet, but I feel like he might have something in store for us tonight.
11 laps into this race, Justice right there. And you're starting to see it, Dylan, as we come off of 4 here on the Speed Racing Network. You see the car already getting a little loose as, man, he's getting so close to the inside of Schumacher there for 3rd. And you see that wheel movement, Dylan. He's fighting that truck down the backstretch.
Yeah, you can definitely see tire wear is starting to become a problem here, worse than it was for the trucks, and that is from that high horsepower. So it's going to be, one of those things that these guys are going to have to manage.
We'll jump on board with Adrian Schumacher there in the 3rd position. He got a courtside seat to this battle in front of him with Montgomery and Cortez. And since the drop of the green flag, with the trucks, you can really get going. You can separate there if you're the leader in that open air. But Montgomery's done a great job of holding with Cortez. Hasn't really given up pace too much here, 13 laps in. And Schumacher's done the same in that 3rd spot. You see him, if he can just catch the draft of that 12, he'll have something. We'll cross that start-finish line once again, 14 laps in to corners 1 and 2.
Everybody's kind of got their groove in now. Everybody's settled out nicely. They're, single file. This is where you can kind of just play the waiting game. Be patient here. Don't overdrive the truck. Save your equipment.
I'm going to keep these cars going here. 15 laps into this race, Cortez snatched the lead from Montgomery early on since the drop of the green flag, and now he's on the back bumper of that 23 as Montgomery's looking for that lead back. Our points leader is trying to make it known why he has 4 wins on this season. Him and Cortez have been going at it early on in this race, Dylan, a little bit different than what we've seen all week.
Yeah, I noticed I had said trucks last time. I'm so used to commenting on the truck series, but tonight we're with cars. So definitely, a lot more exciting, a lot more action. You see passes and, battles all over the racetrack tonight. New Hampshire's a different kind of feel of a racetrack. It's you don't have the banking here as many ovals do to catch you. So when you go and you drive the car down in there, especially late in a run, you are going to put more wear into those tires. So it's a different approach. This is more of a driver's racetrack. It's not like you have anywhere to hide out here. There's no banking to save you if something were to go wrong. And that's one of the reasons why it's kind of a lot of fun to come to a place like this here late in the season, because it shows you who's got a grip on things, who's got everything in order.
It sure does, as Dustin Montgomery is trying to get that lead back in that 12 machine, 17 laps into this race. And you're seeing that separation, Dylan, that we talked about. It took it a little bit of time in this race to happen, but 1 and 2 are now separated a little bit, about a second from Justice there in that third spot. Schumacher now with a 2-second gap. It's the gap here at New Hampshire that we start to see, and I think if this race plays out the same way that we've seen it, not a lot of cautions, very clean racing so far. This style of gapped out race makes it even more difficult to get to the top.
It makes it difficult, but it is nowhere near the kind of crazy gap that we saw Balliet have yesterday. He had over a 3 to 5 second gap at times. This one is a lot more manageable. You see the 12 of Montgomery only 0.2 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, definitely holding pace there as Cortez still leads the way. We'll look around the rest of the field. Our top 10 currently has Bliss in that 85, holding it down there, but not many battles brewing up there. We look at Robinson right there in that 48 machine, Seth Berger in that 77, Truett in that 35, Bliss in that 85. But Dylan, as we jump around the field and look, there's not many battles ensuing on the racetrack.
This is where you don't want to get relaxed. You do want to settle in and get a groove going, but you don't want to get that highway hypnosis. It happens commonly with drivers because these guys, it's second nature to them to be doing this and maneuvering around a racetrack like this. So you can see we have a pass here being attempted on the inside by Seth Berger. Can't make it stick here as the 35 makes it on the outside around him.
That's one of the most difficult aspects of New Hampshire is passing. You get sort of hypnotized, Dylan. You get hypnotized by those long straights, but there goes the 77 of Seth Berger to the inside. See him trying to get around the 35 of True here, trying to crack inside of that top 10 before the stage breaks. But as you look going down those straights, back straights, and front straights, you think you can make a pass. The only really passing points you have are in these corners, and it's really the low side is the only time you can get around somebody. Seth Berger will try to the high side off of 2 here, side by side, battle down the backstretch. Ooh, big checkup from the 35 of Truett that allows Seth Berger in that 77 to get just the slightest of momentum around 3 and 4.
Starting to get dicey now. Everybody's coming and going here. We're trying to, as a driver, you're trying to get everything you can. Use up what you've saved of those tires. Now's the time to go.
Can't really wait on anything right now. You have to get it moving at the end of this stage. Just a few more laps to go as we count it down here at New Hampshire. Coming off a week off here in this series. These drivers are antsy to get going. Only 3 more races remain in the regular season. We check out the 81 machine of Max Service. He's still holding it down inside the top 10. And Dylan, these drivers that can stay inside the top 10, maybe even linger inside the top 5, are really the drivers to watch out for. I don't think this first stage is any indication of how this is going to play out, but boy, he is under fire from the 85 of Bliss into 3 and 4. Bliss has to be one of those names we watch out for at the end of this race.
Yeah, this is the kind of racing we were expecting. We were expecting some very tight pack racing here. You could see this group of 4 to 5 cars. Everybody's kind of caught under a blanket right now. There's not one that's crazy faster over the other. So it's kind of just down to who can be the most consistent.
Check back in with our leader. See Justice in that third spot. Justice has caught up to our leaders. Montgomery is right there as well. We have a battle for the lead, Dylan, here towards the end of the stage. I couldn't believe it. We started to see Cortez separate just a little bit as we check out Bliss rounding out our top 10. But Montgomery's there. Justice is right there. Cortez still in the lead, but he's got a little bit of pressure building up as the field goes into 3 and 4.
You could see a big wash up there by Montgomery. It looked like he just overcooked the entry, just took a wide turn right there. This is the best thing that Cortez can see in his mirror right now as these guys battle. He's going to continue to drive away.
There goes Justice to the inside. The 6 machine has been pretty fast here tonight. Up 1 spot since the drop of the green flag. We see him moving pretty fast lap times as well. 30.7 the fastest. That puts him in that medium range. Last time by with a 31.5. That does make him faster than our race leader. Dylan, looking at those lap times there, everybody's still in the 31 so far, but you are starting to see a little bit of drop. 31.57 from Justice last time by, still faster than our leader of Cortez. Montgomery still in the range right there with a 31.64. But after our top 3 guys, those lap times really drop off and are much, much slower than our leaders.
Yeah, you don't want to go through and just do a qualifying lap every run. You're going to wear out those tires pretty quick. As you can see, the gap is starting to close here between this top 3, with Tyler Justice closing in on Cortez. Wonder if he'll going to try to make a pass here to the inside. He's setting him up. He might try to do something here on the next corner.
Watch this battle ensue here as the stage clicks down. Just a few more laps to go here in this stage. Stage will end on a lap 40. So we got about 11 laps to go, but these guys don't know that as Justice is right on the back bumper of that 23 of Cortez. Bit of a wiggle there, bit of a checkup coming off of 4. We'll cross that start finish line. Boy, this is a battle, Dylan. Coming off of 2, he is slicing and dicing like Uma Thurman and Kill Bill, trying to get around that back bumper of the 23 as we head down the backstretch into 3 and 4. Justice wants that spot. He just can't get it.
Yeah, the 23, he is driving the wheels off that thing. You can see how sideways he gets on corner entry. He is throwing that car into the corner. And like I said, there's no banking here to catch you. So it's all driver input and all braking here that's going to guide you through to the other side as Tyler Justice is trying to make something happen, closing time and time again here on the corner. The only time he's going to be able to make this pass, though, is if there's a mistake from Cortez or he can get a run off the straightaway.
He's got to get that. Has to get that nose to the inside of the 23 to let him know that he's there. All this moving on the back bumper. Oh my goodness, he's so close coming off of 4. All this moving on the back bumper is irritating for Cortez, but it's not going to get the 6 machine around him. He has to get that nose to the low side of the 23, sort of move him up the racetrack, if you will, without contact, Dylan. You know all about that as the 23, although makes contact with the topside wall into 3 and 4. It's not going to kill the speed, though, as this battle still rages on.
Dives down to the inside. He's looking to make it stick. I don't think he'll do it this time. No, he won't. He's going to have to reconsider his decision right there as we have a slow car up in front. I'm curious how they're going to be able to navigate this traffic.
Just a few laps to go here in this stage number 1. I'm curious to see what a stage break will do, as well as these top 2 guys have a 3.5 second lead on our 4th car. Montgomery still holding strong there in that 3rd position, but so far it's been Cortez up at the top. He took the lead from Montgomery, but Justice is trying to get that stage win. He's been trying, Dylan, coming off of 4 here to get this spot. Now for about 5 or 6 laps, he just can't get it.
Looking like there's ice on the racetrack here without sideways. These guys are getting, these tires are hot. They are slippery. They are trying to do everything they can to hold it on the track while still making passes. Tyler Justice is still hunting down the 23 of Cortez.
As Cortez takes us into 3 and 4, Dylan, I think this checks the box of another thing I was talking about to kick off this broadcast, and that's the strategizing, the note taking, if you will. I think the six machine, Tyler Justice and Cortez is they're gonna learn a lot from this battle. Whoever wins the stage, okay, you're gonna get some stage points. That's gonna feel awesome. It's gonna be great. But they're going to learn a lot about what their cars can do here just in this battle. Going into that last part of the race, you're going to have a couple pit stops in there. You're going to have a few more battles on your hand. I think for these two guys, they're going to take a lot from this stage into the last part of the race, and I think it's going to be these two at the end.
I agree. I'm curious now. They are closing in on this slow car. I wonder if he will yield in the corner or if he's going to mess up the timing and possibly get in the way.
As Cortez takes us off of 2 here down the backstretch, and we're coming up on that lap machine of Harris. Be our first car a lap down, and Harris has got to know that our leaders are there. As you see him go very, very high on the racetrack on corner number 4 as we come down this front stretch here. We'll put another lap in the books as we ride on board with Vincent Cortez. He'll go around the lap machine of Harris in the 18. No problems there for the 23.
Navigated that beautifully, didn't lose a step at all as the 6 is still there. He is trying so hard here with 3 laps to go on the stage.
And Vincent Cortez, coming into this series, there was some talk about him being a full-time driver, part-time driver, some other things get in the way that don't allow the 23 to be a full-time driver in this series. But every time he does take the control of this machine, he always puts forth great performances, top 5s, top 10s across the board. Now here tonight has been very strong at the top of the grid here in this first run, this first stage. He can continue this on. We might see this 23 in victory lane with a pretty spiffy paint scheme, if I gotta say.
Definitely a fan of the red, white, and blue right there. But like we were talking about earlier, some of these cars that are low in points, Vincent Cortez in 24th in the points. It's anybody's game. Anybody can have a good run here late in the season coming to the playoffs.
2 laps to go. We'll check out a battle inside of the top 5. Blake Hensley in that 31, trying to crack inside the top 4. He has Powell in that 1. Sean Powell has been quiet this race so far. He's up 1 spot from the drop of the green flag. Blake Hensley, though, is trying to the top side as we have 1 lap to go here in stage number 1 from New Hampshire in the SRN Z Grills Series. These drivers here just trying to lock down a top 5 in the stage. Blake Hensley to the outside of Powell on the 1.
Can't make it stick there. He might try to dive down low here. No, can't quite make it happen. He's going to still stick to that high side.
Sticking to the high side indeed, as it looks like Powell will hold down that position from the 31 machine of Hensley. And that will round out our top 5 here as lap 41 is in the books. And that will be the conclusion of stage number 1. And that will be Cortez in that 23. Vincent Cortez, winner of stage number 1. Second place is going to be Justice in that 6 machine. Third, it's going to go to Dustin Montgomery. 4th in that stage is Sean Powell. 5th is Blake Hensley. Saw that battle right there live on the Speed Racing Network. We also look at the 6th position of Adrian Schumacher. 7th spot in that stage going to be Scotty Ryan Shield. 8th spot is going to be Seth Berger in that 77. 9th position is going to be the 81 of Max Service. And rounding out our top 10 in that stage is the 8 machine of Brandon Burkhart. Dylan, pretty calm stage right there, but there was some battles for the lead up at the top. Let's see if we can't talk with our stage winner, Vincent Cortez, in that 23 machine. He did a great job, not only holding down that lead position, but also holding off Montgomery in that 12. And Vincent, we have you up here in the booth as you roll down pit lane here. And briefly, as we have you here, how were you able to hold down that stage? And boy, you put on a show.
Y'all could have picked a little bit better of a time to pull me up, but yeah, it's fun. It's been a tough season for me. just missing races. I had just out of this. Man, I can't think of words, but out of non like league rated RC, it's just and some injuries, just surfing and stuff. Um, so yeah, it's been a tough season, but I feel like we finally have some type of speed now. These guys are quick, man. These guys don't play around. I feel like every time I'm quick at one of these tracks, there's always a guy or a few other guys who are right there with you, so it makes it exciting.
As we watch you exit pit road here, Vincent, we'll let you get back to it here. And before we let you go, what do you think is going to be the key to victory here? Stage 1, you did a great job. Now it's going to be a little bit longer run to the end of this race, about 100 laps to go. What puts that 23 in victory lane?
I'm just staying consistent, picking the right lane. I'm just trying to watch over my mirror what lane he's running. He seems really good on entry, the line he's running. So just keeping up with the competition, seeing which line they're running, and keeping the tires on it because that's very important here.
And before we let you go, my man, with that stage victory, is there anybody you wanted to shout out or any sponsors that helped you get to that stage victory?
Shout out Bergarts, guy on the hood right now. He's racing right now. Seth Berger, of course, Tank Racing. All you guys up in the booth. Hopefully, we put on a good show.
All right, Vincent, have a great rest of your race, and hopefully, we speak to you soon. Congratulations on that stage victory.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That was Vincent Cortez, the winner of stage number 1 here in the Z Grill Series at New Hampshire. And Dylan, he talked about it. Still a lot more racing to go.
Yeah, he also did mention that the key to this one is still going to be consistency. That was what was key last night, as Valiette was able to just pull away, putting down lap after lap. The driver tonight could very easily do the same, and also some strategy. Like, we haven't seen a caution yet. Like, unplanned caution can completely throw a wrench in the whole deal. Who's going to pit, who's not going to pit. You're going to possibly see some shuffling here later on if that does happen.
We check out our new top 10 on the racetrack. Tyler Justice will win the battle off of pit road. Vincent Cortez second. Dustin Montgomery third. Adrian Schumacher, he's moving up the grid. You see him right there in that 4th position. Sean Powell 5th. Blake Hensley 6th. Scotty Ryan Shield and 7th. Max Service and 8th. Seth Berger 9th. And Brandon Burkhart will be our top 10 on the drop of the green flag. And I always love this driver point of view, Dylan. When do you see these drivers heading down pit road again now that we have those first pit stops out of the way?
Really going to come down to who can do the best saving. You are able to stretch that fuel window quite a bit. I've seen something as crazy as 5 to 10 laps possibly, but it's really going to come down to who wants to play strategy, who wants to gamble, because that track position is everything here at this racetrack.
As the field roars to the drop of the green flag, let's get this thing rocking and rolling once again. Tyler Justice in the 6 takes us into 1.
See a different feel here as the 12 has made it down to the inside past Cortez. The 6 might have a chance to drive away. We will have to see.
Pretty clean here on the start of the stage. One of the things we're looking for, though, are those cold tires. How much of an aspect is that going to play? As right now, Justice will take us across that start-finish line for the first lap under green, single file into 1 and 2.
Everybody's got some fresh Goodyears under them right now. Everybody's going to be trying to make positions. Now, this is going to be a longer run possibly for these drivers, given a caution does not come out. So you're going to try to set yourself up in the best position. A bunch of guys trying to make passes. Seth Berger up 4 positions. Tyler Justice up 2 positions. All these guys are trying to make it all happen while they got fresh Goodyears.
This is the time to do it. Time to get those tires moving in the right direction. Right now, Cortez in that 23 now has to get around the 12 of Montgomery, who passed him on that restart. As we mentioned, Cortez came out of that pit road a second right behind the 6 machine of Justice. Dustin Montgomery, our points leader, 4 wins on the season, Dylan. But we took a look at those points standings. Although he's at the top, it's very tight. All the positions after him.
Yeah, Adrian Schumacher below him, Sean Powell below him, Gabriel Ellison and Logan Truitt, just to mention a few. But these guys, it is still anybody's game. A win could propel you up in the points several positions, and it just depends on who is going to play their cards right here? It is, like we said, it is still anybody's game. We've seen some late runs. We've seen some upset winners. It's still very open tonight as we get ready to, head into this long run.
You talk about upset winners. I'm looking at a driver that's been battling all night long, who's been in the mix, and that's the 77 of Seth Berger. He's our biggest mover so far in this race, up 4 spots from the drop of the green flag. Lap time's pretty good as well. Best lap time 30.72, last time by 30.92. But you see that 77 has just been slowly lingering inside of that top 10. You mentioned it, no caution so far. Maybe if one comes out, get a few positions more to go up the racetrack. You see him. He's right behind some of these battles. And there's that caution. There it is on the racetrack, our first one.
And that is not what a few of these drivers like to see. The 6 of Justice was pulling out and getting a great lead. So we can pull up a replay here and see what actually happened. A little bit of help there. Got a little too generous. Oh, heavy damage on that car. Jonathan Byer getting into Paul Bliss late here in that corner. It makes you wonder now, what is your strategy? I mean, you did just come down and get tires. Like, would you want to top off with gas and possibly extend that window where you wouldn't have to pit till later in the race?
That's going to be a strategy call, and that's something you have to watch out for here. You just headed down pit road. Did you see anything on those few laps that you want to adjust here? Do you want to get any extra speed with a little fresh set of tires? Do you think there's going to be more cautions down the stretch of this race? I think there's a lot of things that these drivers have to think about here now that we have our very first on-track caution, if you will, of the race. Dylan, I'd love to ask of your driver point of view, what would you do in this situation?
I think if you're anywhere from, I'd say, 7th or 8th on back, I'd say why not? Come down pit road, get some gas, and maybe if you needed to make an adjustment, or maybe, I think it's way too early to throw on a set of tires, but what do you have to lose being back there? If you're not in too much of a points deficit and you can take the risk, there's still a long amount of time left in this race to make something happen. I would probably come down and, take some fuel.
Yeah, we'll wait and see here if anybody does elect to go down pit road. Been a very great race so far here on the Speed Racing Network in the Z Grills series here on a wonderful Thursday night. Myself, William Tiller, Dylan Godinez, and James Parfit up here in the booth with us here tonight. And that stage 1 went to Cortez, but it was Montgomery and Justice up there battling, Dylan. Watch if those same three, the three amigos, can continue that dominance here at the end of this race.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if that high line is going to start to come into play. We've seen a lot of driving down low and a lot of dive bombs, but if you're looking back to the previous races with the A and B trucks, that outside line, once you had wear in the tires, you could get a better run off the corner and make a pass down the straightaway. So I'm curious to see if that comes into play here.
Well, let's see as we await the iRacing pace car to pull off, and there it goes as Justice in the 6, Montgomery in the 12 will take us to the drop of the green flag as Justice takes us down to corner number 1.
Fanning out here a bit back in the pack. Everybody is trying to jockey for position. This was a break that not many people were expecting, a chance to stack the field back up and get some more passes in.
You see Schumacher is getting past Cortez. He's going to bump Cortez down to 4th. Cortez sliding down the grid just a little bit. You see Seth Berger in the shot as well. He's in that 6th spot. Hensley in that 31. He's in the 5th spot. A lot of these guys now making moves as you see the 31 machine to the inside of Schumacher.
He had to check up a little bit there, make sure he didn't get into anybody, but we're still having some tight racing here, as Adrian Schumacher had completed the pass, but looking farther back, we still have the 23, Vincent Cortez, trying to fire back at him. Still under pressure, though, behind by the 77.
You see that battle right behind these guys. That's the 31 of Hensley, the 99 of Ryan Shield right there. Trying to stay inside that top 10 as we're single file around that racetrack. The 99 of Ryan Shield, not to the inside of the 8 of Burkhart. You see it just outside of your screen. The 31 of Hensley's right there as well. Everybody's single file into 3 and 4.
You can see, like I was talking about, some of these guys trying to experiment, trying to find something different. A lot of guys are using the high side of that racetrack, 1 or possibly 2 grooves up off of the bottom. That could be tire wear, that could be just trying something different. But, you know, whoever is able to figure out the most optimal line is going to make the difference here.
Brennan Burkhart's just been quiet in this race, up 3 spots from the drop of the green flag. Lap time's been pretty good as well, 30.93 fastest one, 31.20 last time by. We'll check back up at the top of the grid. Montgomery currently under fire from Schumacher. Adrian Schumacher in this race, fastest lap, 30.73, fastest one last time by, 31.04, but boy, he is coming in strong in the second half of this race, trying to put some pressure on that 12.
Schumacher's definitely found a groove, but like Cortez was talking about, consistency is possibly what's going to do it here. So although you are fast, can you keep it up and maintain that position?
The 23 of Cortez currently finds himself in that 4th position. Schumacher in 3rd. You see him 0 on the track, but he's 82 on that scoring pylon. And I think everybody's just settling in to this run. Dylan, you spoke about it. Some more pit stops down the stretch, and then maybe trying to push it to the end of this race, or maybe one more at the end. But I feel like the drivers right now just getting comfy on the racetrack, not trying to press anything too early.
Okay, somebody who is very comfortable is the 77 of Seth Berger, as he is up 6 positions. He has definitely made some headway here in this run.
All Chevys at the top of the grid, 1 through 5. All Chevys. Do you see Hensley, the only Toyota up there? He's trying to get around the 77 of Seth Berger. The 31 machine has been very strong in this race, up 1 spot from the top of the green flag, but has been fighting inside of that top 10. We'll jump on board of that 31 to watch this battle with the 77 coming off of 4.
Major input there you can see as he gets loose, almost tagging the wall. These drivers still have some ill-handling race cars, and they're definitely showcasing their skills here as they're putting in great laps and some great passes. This is some really good racing here.
As Hensley is just trying to hold on to a rocket, keeps looking to the inside. Every time he does, though, the 77 closes the door. That causes some wheel movement out of the 31. He's back on that back bumper. Oh, my goodness, might have been some brief contact there, Dylan. As we come off of 4, the 31 machine might be the only guy that's not comfortable on the racetrack. That's because he can't get around the 77.
You can see he's also moving around a lot as well. Just from the short time that we've been watching him, he's gone from a low entry into the corner to now he might have found something on the high side. He's tried it a couple times now. That's what you need to do as a driver. You need to figure something out. When it is such a tight-knit field of talent like it is here tonight, you do need to experiment. I mean, when you have all of these laps left, why not take that chance? Figure out something the other guys don't know about.
And I think that's what that stage 1 was all about there, Dylan. Maybe taking those notes, pressing issues, pressing the runs, if you will, trying to see how much stress you could put on your car in that first stage. You get that first pit stop out of the way. You know where to adjust. You know where to fix. Now in this run, you're working with the things you learned from stage number 1. You're maybe planning on a green flag pit stop or a stage break, maybe adjust a few more things to get you right there towards the finish. And when you look at the top of the grid, whatever these guys did during those pit stops, not much change. Of course, you still have Justice at the top, Montgomery 2nd, Schumacher 3rd might be the only change, Cortez in 4th, Berger in 5th, as these guys still reign at the top of the grid, but they're still close together, not much separation, Dylan.
Yeah, not much separation means that there is less of a margin left for a mistake. All of these guys here are still trying to just put in lap after lap. But once you have these, tight packs of cars, it's almost like single file, kind of like a track like Darlington. You are, almost following the leader, but if somebody does make a mistake, hopefully it's not you, but you are looking to take advantage of that and, choose accordingly.
What do they say, Dylan? It's not me, it's you sometimes, as we watched Sean Powell on that one come down the backstretch into 3 and 4, 65 laps into the Z Grills series here tonight at New Hampshire. Justin Montgomery, our points leader, has shown why he's our points leader with a solid run here tonight inside of that podium. Cortez in the 23 wins stage number 1, but at the top right now is Tyler Justice in that 6, up 2 spots from the drop of the green flag. And you talked about it, Dylan. This is probably one of the strongest fields we have all across SRN.
Yeah, these are the superstars here. These are the best of the best. You know, it's always going to be a good show when you do tune in. I'd like to thank everybody who is tuning in tonight. But, you know, it's definitely a different perspective here viewing this kind of a race as opposed to one of the trucks. Everybody here is just taking a way different approach. You can see so much patience here, so much skill being at play with all these moves. It's kind of like chess. You know, you don't want to go and, you know, just make your one move. You want to be planning several moves ahead to predict the outcome of this race.
I like to think of it as a almost like a Bristol style race. Of course, we're not beating and banging cars, putting on a lot of damage, things like that, Dylan. But I think it's the same a patience thing as you were just talking about. You have to have patience at a track like Bristol. Although you can make some contact, get around somebody, you can't really throw all your chips on the table and hope something sticks. That like at a super speedway or a high banking racetrack. Here at New Hampshire, you have to really be patient. You have to wait those moves as you look Powell to the inside there, the 31 of Hensley. And this is exactly what I'm talking about here. The one machine of Powell has been waiting for this opportunity, now trying to take advantage of it coming off a full.
Yeah, he's definitely been planning this move for a few corners now, and hopefully he's going to be able to make it stick here as he looks down to the inside again, trying to keep that car pinned down, not get too loose and slide up the racetrack, still side by side.
Side by side coming off the corner here down the backstretch. The one machine of Powell keeps inching that nose just ahead of the 31 of Hensley. This is a battle for the 6th position now into 3 and 4, still side by side. These two drivers have been lingering inside of that top 10. Neither one has really stretched out to get inside the top 5. But right now, still side by side across that start-finish line. The battle for 6th rages on into 1.
Now, if you were in a position where you were looking to possibly save tires and you were okay in the points, it's not a bad thing to kind of yield a position a little bit. You know, like, all right, this guy's faster. Let him go and burn his stuff up. So you can see the 31 ending up yielding that position. Might have had some possible contact with the wall there. But, you know, it's not a bad thing necessarily if you're trying to be conservative to let that faster guy by.
All about conserving on the racetrack, and I think, Dylan, you bring up a great point. You know, we still have a long way to go here, maybe a couple more pit stops down the stretch as well, so maybe giving up a position is not the worst move, but I feel like if you start to drift maybe past the 8th, 9th, definitely the 10th position, you're starting to see your chances starting to slip away. Of course, it's a very long race. We're only on lap 71. But you're seeing those intervals stack up. You're seeing the difference in lap times as well. Dylan, where do you see on that scoring pylon is the danger zone for some of these drivers?
I think the danger zone is any time when you're kind of, you know, outside the top 7, top 6. I mean, we can just look at Seth Berger being up 6 positions. He's proven that you can make a drive up there, but it will be over the course of some time. You're not going to win this all in one lap, so it's going to be more of a marathon, not a sprint. And, you know, some of the guys that do tend to get emotional, you know, dropping back, it could force you to make a mistake and hurt you more.
And talking about speeds, you know, looking at those speeds on that grid, if you're watching along with us here on the Speed Racing Network, Justice Montgomery just ran identical lap times at the top. Meanwhile, Schumacher Cortez almost identical there in 3rd and 4th. Our top half of the grid there, our top 4 drivers, very, very close to one another. If they keep these lap times going, they might be able to separate. Meanwhile, through all of that, Powell in that one, he holds the fastest lap time last time by.
Yeah, he's running from that 31 right now. He's still trying to make something happen, but everybody here is, you know, they got all their ducks in a row. Everybody's kind of got a good car underneath them. You know what you have at this point in the race, and how you adjust, you know, based on that feel for you as a driver is probably what's going to set you apart here at the end and get a good finish.
Cortez Schumacher currently battling it out for a podium spot. Cortez in that 23 will get the spot. Coming off of 4 here down the front stretch, and Cortez now back to his fast ways that we saw in stage number 1. Lost the battle off of pit road. Dylan lost the spot on the restart as well. Now back on the move, and he's starting to make ground on the 12 of Montgomery.
Yeah, all these guys are still trying to just make passes. You know, all that studying you've been talking about, Will. All these guys who are just logging lap after lap, learning lap after lap. You know, it definitely doesn't hurt to apply some of that knowledge that you've learned. Being the trailing car isn't always a bad thing. It's helping you learn more as opposed to some of the leading cars who kind of have to figure it all out for themselves.
Cortez, as we watch him come off of that corner stage number 1, winner wants a victory in this series. He talked about how he's missed a few races. We talked to him right after that stage victory as he was heading down pit road. And probably the worst time to talk to a driver, Dylan, as he's heading down pit road. He seemed to handle it pretty well, though, and he gave us some great answers about that stage victory. Now you see him here in this run, 77 laps into this race. I think this is the same thing that we watched out of him there in stage 1. So, you know, you sort of lay back just a little bit. His lap times now almost look identical to Montgomery in that 12. And you really start to press the issue towards the end of the race. If you can clear yourself with about 25, 30 laps to go, you can get that checker flag.
I completely agree, Will. That was well said. But one thing that you do want to keep in mind as a driver, and, you know, it's all mental. You know, you are your worst enemy inside the race car. There's only one of you in there. So you have to be able to, you know, motivate yourself and persuade yourself to possibly make a change in your driving style that you had previously not wanted to do. Whoa, sawing wood right there is a great save by Vincent Cortez. Looks like he has some wear in those tires as that car looks like a handle.
We're creeping up on that number, Dylan. I'm keeping an eye out on the last time we headed down pit road was lap 42. So we're looking at quite the distance now, looking at around 47 laps or so that we've put on this last run, 37 laps or so that we put on this last run. So creeping up towards that number, and you're seeing it now. Lap times starting to falter just a little bit, starting to creep towards that 32 range. And these trucks getting loose. Cortez, who was gaining on Montgomery with that little bit of a wiggle, has now lost pace as we come around 3 and 4 here. We're still on board with that 23 machine down the front stretch. Still a 3-horse battle at the top, though.
You can see a lot of rotation in that corner. That thing is wanting to whip around on him at any second. Wants to be very ginger with the throttle here. You know, it kind of takes your mentality away from, all right, you know, I'm in a position to pass. I'm in a position where I need to be consistent. You know, these guys, their cars are handling almost identical to his. So you just want to put some good laps together, not make a mistake. It's so much easier to make up positions later with a good car than one that possibly hit the wall.
As we look around the racetrack right now, we do have a battle between Scotty Reinshield and Brandon Burkhart there. That's to stay inside of the top 10. Burkhart, Reinshield have been top 10 drivers here in this race, both just trying to hang on. Reinshield does not want to slip there past that 10th spot. And you see right now the 99 and the 8 is really the only battle on the racetrack currently, Dylan. Starting to see a little bit of that gapping out that we talk about here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, this is where everybody's starting to get some separation between them. These are where the cracks are starting to show. Some of the faults in the driving style or possibly an ill-handling race car is starting to become evident here. And, you know, this makes me think about, as a driver, when is that good time to come down and make a pit stop? And obviously everybody's going to want those 4 fresh Goodyear tires and some fresh fuel. But, you know, what's your strategy here moving on?
I think this strategy, Dylan, you're starting to calculate when that second pit stop is going to take place. Can you really push the window to lap 100, maybe split this race to a 50-lap shootout? And we saw that last night out of those trucks. Is it the same sort of strategy out of these Xfinity cars? Can you push that window? Can you get to lap 100? It leaves you 50 laps to go in this race. You know, you're pushing that window a little bit there towards the end, Dylan, but it's worth that battle at the end. And currently, Justice still leads the way, and his lap times are actually getting faster. Same thing with Cortez, who just ran a 31.59 last time by.
Yeah, that might be a quick indication that these guys are going to start to try to extend the gap on the car behind, give them just that little bit extra cushion before they attempt to come down pit road here in the next, I'd say we could see cars easily within the next 10 to 15 laps.
Absolutely, and I think with no caution flags on the racetrack either, it makes things even more difficult. But here we go, another battle on the racetrack. Scotty Reinshield is trying to snatch one from Burkhart. There in the 8, does exactly what you need to do. Sends the 8 of Burkhart up the racetrack. He'll take it to the low side as Reinshield will take that position. As you see, Burkhart again tries to the inside there, Dylan, but that door is closed as the 99 will take us off of 2, currently in the 9th spot.
Impressive move by the 99 late here in this run. He's kind of been one of those guys that have floated around, in that top 10 position. Scotty Reinshield, I mean, putting together a solid race here as he does sit up in the 11th position in points. So he definitely could use some points going into, the end of the season here.
We'll look at Blake Hensley in that 31 machine as well. And it seems like every time we check in with that 31, he is in a battle on the racetrack, Dylan. And currently he's under battle by the 81 of Service. This is a battle for 7th on the racetrack. And you just talked about it, Dylan. These drivers who haven't really faded out of the top 10, that has been the 81 of Service. No matter where we see him, whatever kind of battle he's in, it's a battle for a top 10 spot. And meanwhile, they're still side by side into 1.
And definitely one of the drivers as well who has been consistent and put a great race together so far. So you can see these guys are still side by side here, trying to make this pass down on the inside. Can he make it stick, or will the 31 power through on the outside as he does slide up the track a little bit?
Perfect textbook move out of the 81 of Service. You stay low. You keep that other car high side on the racetrack. That way when you come off, you throw that tail to the high side. You block that car coming on the high side of the racetrack. Just a very, very smooth move out of the 81 to block the 31 of Hensley, who move up to 7th on the racetrack. As we watch Justice in that 6 still at the top of the grid. Montgomery 2nd, Cortez 3rd, Schumacher 4th, Berger 5th, Powell 6th. Service, we watch him right here on your screen. 7th, Hensley 8th, Reinshield 9th, and Burkhart is our top 10 currently as we creep up towards that century mark. Dylan, what are some of the things that have stood out to you here in this race as we creep up to 50 to go?
Definitely don't count anybody out. We said it before and we will say it again. It still is anybody's race. For how tight-knit these lap times are and for how tight-knit this field is, it still could be anybody's run here, but don't make a mistake. That's what's proven to be, the Achilles heel for some of these passes with these drivers. Possibly too hot of an entry into the corner could cost you 1 or possibly 2 spots, depending on if it's a restart or not. And don't always consider, that you have it under control. That caution can come at any time.
We'll jump on board with our 3rd place car of Cortez, who has caught the 12 of Montgomery here on 3. And for our stage winner, he's trying to find that pace that he had in stage 1 will probably come after these pit stops that are happening momentarily here as we creep up towards those stops. But meanwhile, the 23 keeps looking to the inside here in 1 and 2, trying to get around the 12 down the backstretch. Vincent Cortez, the door just keeps getting shut on him, Dylan, as he keeps trying to pick the 12. Can't find it as he'll go a little bit higher into 3 and 4.
Tries to cut back down on the bottom there. He's trying to cut the corner, maybe get a good run on the exit. Can't make it happen, though, as that 12 is still driving away. As, if you're a driver in this position, take some more notes. See what you can improve on. Like, as you see, he closes up way. Whoa! The 12 almost loses it right there. These cars are all over the place.
Big wiggle out of the 12. Vincent Cortez did a great job of laying back just a little bit. Let the 12 react to whatever problem he has going on in that cockpit. If it's a problem that he could take advantage of, then pounce. If not, you lay back. And the 23 did exactly that there. He laid back, let the 12 work himself out. Whatever was going on there, he's solid, though, in that 3rd spot. 93 laps into this race currently as we're creeping up towards those green flag pit stops. And Watching some of these lap times on the track, we're starting to hit 32s already. One driver that has not gotten anywhere near a 32 is Justice at the top, still 31.76 last time by.
Definitely a rocket ship on his end. Now, as we do prepare to see some pit stops here, this track is very similar to the Milwaukee Mile, a very close pit entry to turn 4. Now, it is important here that you don't check up too much. You really want to nail your entry, because say you slow up too much, the guy behind you might not anticipate that, and as I found out at Milwaukee, could result in you getting turned and, possibly putting you in a predicament to lose some spots.
You don't want to lose any spots in a tight battle like tonight. Bliss in the 85, he found that out the hard way with a little bit of a mistake. Brought out a caution flag. He finds himself there at the tail end of the grid. And one of the things that we talked about coming into this race, although a smaller field here on a Thursday night, of course there's Thursday night football, all those things going on, but it makes it extremely more difficult to battle for position, to hold on for positions. Every position actually counts more in a smaller field, and only a few races to go here before the playoffs. Every little bit counts. As we'll check in with the 77 of Seth Berger, a driver that we've called out a few times here tonight. He's currently in 5th, holding it down.
Definitely still some great racing going on all over this racetrack. Nobody is slowing down. Nobody is giving in. A lot of persistence here. A lot of guys motivated and putting on some great racing tonight.
Great racing indeed. Clean racing. Only one on-track caution in this race. 96 laps in. We'll see if that changes as things get a little bit more heated. The volume turns up here at New Hampshire as the 77 of Seth Berger has now found that window of opportunity to the inside of Schumacher, and he'll fly through that spot. The 77 moves up to 4th, coming off of that corner. Great run here. But folks, as you watch your favorite driver move up through that grid, you have to keep in mind green flag pit stops will ensue in just a few laps. Watch what kind of strategy your favorite driver has and where they come out through that Yahtzee reshuffle, I like to say, Dylan, of the field.
Yeah, that was definitely some heads-up driving by Schumacher. That brings back the point that we were talking about earlier in the run. It is not a bad thing to let the faster car go through. It might help you in the long run with conserving your equipment.
As now Cortez on the back bumper of the 12. No conserving here in this battle into 3 and 4. Cortez trying to get back up to the top of the grid. He has to get through the 12 of Montgomery to do so. Side by side off of 4 here down the front stretch as we creep towards that century mark here on this wonderful Thursday night. Vincent Cortez will put those Goodyear Eagles right on that yellow line to 1 and 2. He'll take that spot coming off the corner, but you see there's contact between the 12 and the 23. That'll get some questions.
Definitely some very tense racing going on right now. That definitely woke both of those drivers up as they are still just tooth and nail trying to hang on to both of these race cars.
Oh man, as things got very heated there, Dylan, as both cars got sideways coming off of 4. You see both of them kind of take a step back, a deep breath, and as a driver, Dylan, is that the best way to react to a situation like that? Just take a step back and a breath.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to let your emotions get the best of you in a situation like this. You're getting ready to make a pit stop. There are 50 laps to go. You don't want to afford to make a mistake and possibly cost yourself by letting your emotions get to you.
Cortez, meanwhile, though, up to 2nd, just ran a 31.98. Our leader, Justice, 31.93. As we await some of these pit stops to take place, we do see Paul Bliss. Of course, he is down pit road, has been down pit road now for a while. Watch here with 50 laps to go. Which driver wants to start those dominoes to fall? 23 machine, as we watch come off of 4 here, won't be this lap, Dylan, as Dustin Montgomery still, though, in that 3rd spot. Justice in that top spot. And we haven't really checked in with our leader here in this run. Has just been virtually untouchable so far. Yeah,
Tyler Justice definitely pulling away. He's got himself a groove going here for sure. Definitely an easier run for him, but you don't want to get too confident. You don't want to let yourself slip up. You still want to stay in that zeroed in mentality that anything can happen.
To have that composure, to have that coolness, to stay cool like the other side of the pillow. Shout out to Stuart Scott right there, as Tyler Justice is doing exactly that. And as I like to say, Dylan, you look good, you feel good, you race good with a paint scheme like the Six Machine has. He is definitely looking good on the racetrack, feeling good here tonight, as he'll make it 47 laps to go, and he'll set the pace for those pit stops as well, because currently on the racetrack he is checking out from that second place position.
Yeah, I anticipate a bunch of these guys are getting ready to come down here, closing in on 47 to go. This is where it all plays out. This is where you need to have everything in line. This is where it's going to matter here at the end.
As we see, some drivers have already headed down. The 31 machine of Blake Hensley, Logan Truitt down, Brendan Burkhart down, Jim Harris down. Now we see the 23 machine of Vincent Cortez. He is down pit road with 46 laps to go here from New Hampshire. We'll watch who else heads down. David Robinson now down on that 46 machine. Haven't called his name out at all here tonight. We'll watch what other leaders head down here on this run. Very frantic time for the field. Frantic time for us up here in the booth. Frantic time for the folks at home here, Dylan, as we see Dustin Montgomery now heading down.
You can see how narrow that peel off was, as the 23 was right behind him. Definitely a great pit entry. It couldn't have gone any better. That one was textbook. But, now you got your fresh Goodyears under you. Don't overdrive the car. Don't mess up all the progress that you made and spin out. Just put a few good laps together. Get yourself back in a groove coming out of pit road.
Vincent Cortez will be the first one off of pit road in that group. Now we see our leader, Tyler Justice. He will head down right now. Brandon Burkhart is off. We see David Robinson off. Jim Harris is off there. Tyler Justice now down. We'll see how long it takes him to get off of pit road. Dustin Montgomery off pit road as well. Scotty Reinshield off of pit road. You see a flip-flop between Dustin Montgomery and Blake Hensley, who now will be battling it out for positions on the racetrack. Tyler Justice still down pit road, and that leaves Seth Berger out. Adrian Schumacher out, Max Service out, and Sean Powell still out on the racetrack with Jonathan Byer there in that fifth position.
A bunch of these guys stretching this window here. Some of these guys pitting later than others. We're going to see how this all plays out. If you can recall to the previous night, Dean Brummett came down crazy early, and we thought, it's probably a jump for position, and it ended up paying off. But just because that happened, the 7 about yet did pit late, and he still did come out on top. So very well anybody's game.
Jonathan Byer, Seth Berger, Adrian Schumacher all down pit road as well. That will leave two drivers that headed down very early on in this race. Lap 51, Max Service as our race leader in that 81, as well as Sean Powell, who both headed down the same lap 51. But that will leave Tyler Justice as the lead car in that pack of leaders that we were waiting to head down pit road. He'll have Cortez right behind him, and they're almost right next to each other on the racetrack, Dylan. We just have to wait for the 81 to head down, then we'll have quite the battle to the finish.
Yeah, everybody's getting stacked up again. Everybody's getting in order. This is where, as a driver, put these laps together. Consistency's key. You're going to be able to make some passes, but, you don't got to do it all in one lap. So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely. As we await the 81 machine of Service to head down, we watch the 31 machine of Blake Hensley's been very strong in this race, up one spot from the drop of the green flag, but boys done a great job of holding on to positions throughout tonight's affair. As we look up at the top, though, Powell has resumed the lead there in that one. Sean Powell, our new race leader, as Max Service is down pit road, so that will leave just Sean Powell at the top on all the equipment, as Tyler Justice is humming around this racetrack. Last time, Byron, a 30.65. We look at some other lap times, 30.965, 30.8. These guys are buzzing around this racetrack.
Yeah, definitely some guys that got a better handle on the situation than others. You can see who is able to handle that car better on those fresh Goodyears. You know, you go around and you do so many laps on these old tires. There's a big check up there by the one.
And he's starting to lose the car. Definitely, as I mentioned, lap 51 last time down pit road for this one. And just how long do you want to stay out? And that answers the question for us here on the Speed Racing Network. He'll head down right now as we're talking about that one. So as our leader comes around, Tyler Justice in that 6 will assume the lead with Vincent Cortez, Dustin Montgomery, Blake Hensley, and Seth Berger being our top 5. And here he comes roaring across that start-finish line. Our new race leader, Tyler Justice, takes us into 1.
And back to what I was saying before about, you know, you ran around on these worn out tires. It is a different driving style, complete 180 from before. Now you've got grip, now you've got drive. You know, it's easy to get that, you know, mentality in your head, oh yeah, I'm unstoppable, but you know, the mistake still could happen and it might be lingering here.
And I think referring back to last night's race as well, Dylan, or all week that we've seen here in the Speed Racing Network at New Hampshire, a late race caution can throw a wrench into any of these guys' plan down the stretch as Tyler Justice takes us around the corner. What that does is it puts the field back together, and now you have to go back to, okay, now I have to race a guy. You know, I have to get to the inside of a guy, and now I have to try to put more stress on my tires there towards the end of this race. So watch out for the late race caution with 37 laps to go. If not, you know, with fresh equipment, we watch Tyler Justice really checking out.
And back here, we still got some battles going on with Max Service. Definitely, you know, a big night for both of these two with Scotty Roncho behind him. You know, these are two guys who have been consistent throughout, and these are two guys who are definitely making it happen here late in this run, trying to put a good finish together inside the top 10.
And these guys have put in a great race here tonight. Maybe not have had the speed of a Justice, a Cortez, or Montgomery up there, or a Berger in the 77. But have really held on. They've fought for these spots. They've held on to these spots, especially Scotty Reinshield there in that 99, Service in the 81. You know, Truitt is up in that 35 machine. And of all the things we've spotlighted him a few times here tonight, but Hensley in that 31, we wouldn't have thought that he's up the grid to 4th, just quietly moving up here late in this race.
Definitely don't consider anybody out of this race yet. Seth is definitely closing here on the 31 as he is probably going to attempt to make the pass here. He's been very strong on that bottom groove. You know, it's 34 laps to go. It's kind of crunch time. This is where if you have anything in the tank, you got to go for it. You can't just anticipate there's going to be a caution as he does dive down to the inside, trying to make that low line work like he has in the past.
There goes the 77 machine, rocking the flames down the front of that car. Well, it has to be a throwback to Jeff Gordon there with the old DuPont logo on the front. Looking good on the racetrack, looking good on the grid as well, because he'll take the position from the 31 of Hensley. That'll move the 77 of Berger up to 4th, trying to crack inside that podium before that checkered flag flies.
And it's just like you were saying earlier, Will, like just because you don't get a great qualifying position doesn't mean that you can't take those notes throughout the race. And I think Seth has proven that it is possible to, you know, put a run together even though you weren't fast there in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, and I like to say, Dylan, although as important as qualifying is, I don't think it's the biggest factor in a race. I think it just really sets the grid. You know, as cliche and as dumb as that sounds, Dylan, I don't think it's an indicator of what a driver goes through. I think you get 2 laps to show your best time around a track, but there's so many other factors that come into play during a race. Pit strategies, dealing with other drivers, dealing with lap traffic if you're the leader. So many other things I think drivers have to really strategize for during these long runs as well that qualifying may not show.
Qualifying or not, he is putting together a great run, and so are several other drivers in this field as everybody has put on a great race so far. Not too many incidents. We only saw that one caution. But everybody here is just trying to, do their best that they can to just put those laps together. So 99 is down to make another pass on the 35.
Yeah, the 99 machine of Scotty Reinshield looks to the inside of the 35. A true, bit of a nerve-wracking move there out of the 99 of Scotty Reinshield as they're still side by side for this spot. And you see Pal right there in the one. He wants in on this party as we come off with 2 here down the backstretch. He'll look to the inside of the 35. Little BOGO action there out of the 1 and the 99. The 99 said, I'll take that spot, and the 1 said, I'll take 1 too, as he'll take the spot from the 35. That'll move Powell up to 9th, Reinshield up to 8th as we cross that start-finish line. Here comes Powell to the inside of the 99 into 1.
And you can see how crucial a possible mistake or a run off your line can be. The 35 of Logan Truitt dropping 2 positions there within 1 lap. It's definitely down to, who has the best equipment under them and who's got a grasp on this thing. As you can see, the 1 of Sean Powell starting to pull away from that 99.
And talk. Those fresh equipment definitely playing a role in this race. We're looking at a difference in some of the equipment. Looking at Adrian Schumacher there in 6th. Last time down pit road was 107. Max Service 110. Sean Powell 112. So you can see the difference of fresh equipment makes on that one. He's trying to gobble up as many positions as he can before that checkered flag flies. And you see those lap times if you're watching along with us here on the Speed Racing Network. Powell is definitely faster than our leader, Dylan, but he has a couple of things to work with. He has a lot of cars to get through and not that many laps to work with.
Yeah, he's definitely going to try to make the best of the situation right now, though, and he's just going to try to hunt down that 81 of Max Service, and as you can see ahead of them, 82 of, Adrian Schumacher, my apologies. Everybody is just trying to, track down what they can. This is where you need to make that decision if you're going to, as he is attempting to make the pass on the 31 of Blake Hensley.
He looks to the inside of the 31 there. Schumacher has just been a name that's lingered inside the top 5. Made a huge run there after the stage break. Maybe faded a little bit after those pit stops. Now is looking for that top 5 spot as he looks to the inside of the 31. They're very close on the entry of 3 and 4. May have been a little contact there as they're side by side coming off of 4 down the front stretch. This battle is an important one. You want to get a top 5 out of this race heading into those playoff races. Only 3 races away, folks, here in the Z Grill Series as we come down that backstretch still, and they're still side by side for 5th.
Yeah, the gloves are off now. This is where a track like New Hampshire turns into a hectic short track like Martinsville. You're going to see some guys beating and banging. It's not just going to be a move out of the way type of mentality now. This is where it all runs down.
This is where you put all your chips on the table. You try to cash in. You have...
Oh, big check up there.
Oh, my goodness. There's contact made on the racetrack. Adrian Schumacher just went into the door, the 31 of Hensley. They both just shook it off. They kept it cool. They're going straight once again. But, Dylan, that had to have been one of the most exciting parts of this race.
Yeah, definitely. You can see as the 31 does catch it. There he is, loose. Great recovery. Great recovery. This is some great heads-up driving by these drivers. Everybody is down to make the pass. Everybody is committed. This is where you start to see the emotions come through. Will he retaliate?
Watch here with 23 laps to go, and we look at the top of the grid as we got excited over those battles there for 5th. Tyler Justice is making his dinner reservations of where he can get the best lobster dinner of winning here at New Hampshire with over a 2-second lead with 22 laps. I think the only thing that keeps him maybe out of victory lane, Dylan, is a late race caution. And from what we just saw there, the battle for 5th, there might be one before the end of this race as Adrian Schumacher currently in that 5th spot. His heart rate is probably going down just a little bit from the battle with the 31.
You can see Sean Powell here back in the 1. Those fresh tires still coming into play as he does attempt to move up through the field more, coming up on the 81 of Max Service. Don't count anybody out. this is the time to make the move, and I think you're starting to see that there as the previous battle that we watched. You know, Sean Powell, he's been fast there on the low line, but does he try to make a move here with the 81 potentially blocking?
81's been strong as well, solid inside the top 10 all race along. Powell, though, has been maybe below the 10th position, has scrapped out some spots, lost some spots on the drop of the green flag, down 3 spots actually from the drop of the green flag. Powell here tonight probably thinking his night could have been better, qualifying 5th to start off things, but trying to maybe get back to where he started and maybe scrape something out of maybe what was a bad night, Dylan.
I wouldn't consider it a bad night by any means. He's got 4 tires on that race car, and he is ready to go, trying to make passes here, and, you know, definitely the kind of racing that we expected to see coming into tonight, and it's definitely been a great show. Sean Powell definitely closing in, possibly going to try to make that move here coming into the next few corners.
Laps to go, and we got to give credit where credit is due. Sean Powell did lead a few laps there, stayed out a little bit longer than the rest of the field, put some laps underneath that belt, but there he looks to the inside of the one of max service into 3 and 4. He'll try to get this spot from the 81. That new equipment is paying off. Those Goodyear Eagles are soaring as they'll carry Sean Powell to another position up to 7th here, across the start finish line into 1.
Easy work there. I mean, you are losing laps here, you know, 18 to go. How far can he jump up in this field? You know, everybody else is on older tires. Can he put some good laps together and possibly get a few positions?
How far can he climb up? The grid has some space to go. About 13 seconds, though, separates Sean Powell on the 1 to our leader of Tyler Justice. Lap times, though, for the 2, 31.4 last time by for Sean Powell, 31.6 for our leader of Tyler Justice. Now 17 laps to go. Dylan, I want to ask you for that driver point of view here. We're in crunch time. This is the end. What's going through Tyler Justice's mind right now? You have about a 3.5 second lead on the rest of the field. It was 16 laps to go. You still have a bit of work to do, but are you starting to maybe think you've got this, or are you relaxing at all inside that race car?
Definitely never relax. You know, you're always white-knuckled on the wheel. You may drive with a little bit different attitude. As you can see, he's just easing it into the corner. These laps, although it seems like, you know, action to us, it is going in slow motion for him. He is just praying he does not see that caution. He is also just trying to put one foot in front of the other, just checking off the boxes one corner at a time. You know, it's, as a driver, it's really all out the windshield at this point. There's no pressure from behind. Just do what you've been doing all race and finish this one out.
Montgomery and Cortez, though, meanwhile, battling it out for second. Cortez in that 23 was our stage 1 winner, has stayed inside the top 3 during this long run. Montgomery, though, our points leader, is going to continue that run of top 5 finishes, of all holds here tonight. Dylan, Cortez maybe wants to get up there at a shot at Justice, but as this race plays out, 14 laps to go, this might want to be the biggest battles on the racetrack.
Yeah, these guys have gone at it all night, and there might be some bad blood between the two with some rough passing and some bumping and running, but, you know, if Dustin does tend to close in on him, does he use the bumper?
Looking to the inside off of 4. These trucks starting to get just the taddest bit loose. See a bit of a wheel movement out of the 12 machine of Dustin Montgomery as we ride on board here, coming off of 2. He keeps trying to the inside to get around as the field comes up on some lap traffic. That's going to work out beautiful for Tyler Justice in that 6th, but Dylan heading into 3 and 4. Dustin Montgomery is just on that back bumper, and he'll look to the inside. Not enough racetrack as we come up for 4.
You can see these guys are on rails once again. Both of these cars sideways throughout the whole corner as they try to make something work here. And if you're the 23, you just want to keep looking out your windshield. Oh, big check up there. You want to keep looking out the windshield. Don't be too distracted about what's behind. So the 12 almost gets in the wall on corner exit.
Wow, Oh, that was so close. Almost contact there between the 12 and the 23. As again, the 12 looks to the inside, and every time he does there, Dylan, he runs out of racetrack, and you see almost contact there. But folks, we're down to 11 laps to go here in the Z Grills series here at New Hampshire. It has been a blast all night long. Vincent Cortez wins stage number 1. Tyler Justice gets up to the top of the grid and has just Holiday Inn checked out on the rest of the field. Has gotten his free breakfast, and he is traveling down the road up 4 seconds on the rest of the field.
You could see a lot of these guys taking a definitely different driving style into this. A lot of defensive lines going on as Sean Powell had made the pass. Still continuing to move up here late in this run. All these drivers are trying to force the edge. They are trying to force somebody else to make a mistake, driving very close on corner entry, taking different lines. This is where it gets dicey. You're pulling all the tricks out of the bag.
You got to pull everything out of the bag to have a shot. Sean Powell up to 6. He's definitely trying to gobble up as many positions as he can on this run. 9 laps to go. How many spots will that one machine gain towards the end of this race? We'll have to wait and see. Currently has about 2 seconds between him and Schumacher, then another 2 seconds between him and Berger in that 77 in that 4th spot. And you see he's running a little bit higher on the corners there, Dylan.
Yeah, very interesting line. He's trying to arc that corner, take a late apex. He's able to extend that straightaway. You know, by taking that late apex into the corner, he's able to get back to the gas sooner, and those tires are helping him out.
They definitely are, and you look at those lap times there, has just a little bit better than Schumacher there ahead of him, so it looks like that run out of the one machine of Sean Powell might be losing some steam, might just end just outside of that top 5 there in that 6th position. And you know, we look up at the top there, Vincent Cortez, Montgomery still very close to one another, but James, we spoke about, we keep referring back to last night's race. We spoke about what can happen if you get in clean air, especially on a restart, especially during these green flag pit stops. And Tyler Justice is doing exactly what we've seen all week here on the Speed Racing Network. You can get to the top of the grid at New Hampshire with 25, 30 laps to go. You'll get the checkered flag.
You can see that Tyler Justice is starting to just pull away. He is 5 seconds ahead of the car behind. Definitely on cruise control now, just putting one foot in front of the other. But definitely very, very exciting here towards the end of this race. I wouldn't count out that battle for second position, though. Still something to be had there with 5 laps to go.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely scraping it out. Okay, Tyler Justice might get that checkered flag, but these two don't care. They're not Ricky Bobby fans. If you're not first, you're last. They want to get that second spot on the racetrack. They want to get their post-race interview out of the way. They don't have to wait to be interviewed last here on the Speed Racing Network. Cortez Montgomery with 5 laps to go. The battle for second is the battle we'll watch at the end of this race.
You can see the 12 has finally made that pass on the 23. You know, definitely some great driving between the two of them and some impressive car control as well, battling those cars on rails and, you know, still being able to put together some great lap times as the 12 is starting to show some perseverance and pulling away from that 3rd position.
Starting to separate just a little bit here towards the end of the race. And folks, as we watch the conclusion of this race with 4 laps to go, we want to thank you for tuning in to the Speed Racing Network here on a wonderful Thursday night. Of course, there's Thursday night football going on, so we want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in all week long. Of course, we've had races on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night here. And Dylan, if they haven't already, we invite all the folks at home to go hit that like button if you're watching along with us here on YouTube. Subscribe. We have a members-only program now with 3 laps to go at New Hampshire. Gives you exclusive content with member-only chats, emojis, banners, all sorts of cool stuff. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. As Cortez gets really loose off of 2. This is the type of action you don't want to miss on the Speed Racing Network.
That just cost him a second of precious time there on that second place position. You know, this is where it becomes a handful. This is where you're starting to see this is all that they've got. These drivers are on the edge, and they're giving it their all the way down to the last second.
2 laps remain here at New Hampshire. The Z Grills Series. Tyler Justice is just a few more corners away from being crowned our winner here tonight. What a motivational confidence booster that would be as he takes the white flag into one more time here at New Hampshire.
Definitely shown some perseverance. This is what Cortez was talking about. The driver who's the most consistent will possibly come out on top, and I think Tyler has proven that here tonight.
As he comes into 3 and 4, Tyler Justice came through adversity. Strategies paid off for that 6, and he'll get his lobster dinner here at New Hampshire as he wins the Z Grills Series at New Hampshire. Tyler Justice, the winner here tonight.
Very great racing out of him. Very, very, very strong skill shown by all of these drivers tonight, especially the guys inside the top 10. You know, a bunch of guys who wanted a good finish and some of those guys who did get a good finish.
As our top 10 is coming across that start-finish line, as we watch that battle play out, it will be Montgomery in second, Cortez in third. What a race this was as Tyler Justice worked through everything, was a sleeper in this race, actually finishes up 2 spots from the drop of the green flag as we watch him burn it down here on the front stretch.
Yeah, pretty solid night by a bunch of these drivers. You know, everybody definitely showed their skill tonight. You know, it was definitely a thriller that we were expecting and something definitely worth watching.
And celebrate he will. And as he celebrates here on the front stretch at New Hampshire, let's check out the official results of the Z Grill Series Week 11 at New Hampshire. Tyler Justice, our champion here tonight. Dustin Montgomery, our points leader, another podium finish, finishes second. Vincent Cortez, our stage number 1 winner with another great finish, though, finishes third in that 23. Fourth position is going to go to Seth Berger in that 77. Fifth position is going to be Adrian Schumacher in the 82, and that'll be our top 5. Sixth position will go to Sean Powell on that one who tried his best with that fresh equipment to work his way up. That run will end at the 6th spot. Seventh position is going to be Max Service in that 81. Eighth, Blake Hensley. And rounding out our top 10 will be Scotty Ronshield in 9th and Logan Truitt in 10th.
And rounding out the rest of the field here, we have Brandon Burkhart in that 8 machine coming home 11th. David Robertson in the 46 coming home 12th. Jonathan Bayer in the 13th coming home in P13. Jim Harris in the 18 coming home in 14th. And rounding it all out is Paul Bliss in the 85 finishing in 15th.
What a race here as our winner, Tyler Justice, in that 6 wins this race by just about 6.5 seconds. And Dylan, I don't know if that betters last night's performance in trucks, but it has to be very close.
Yeah, definitely coming from behind, passing 2 positions to end up getting the victory here at the end from where he started. Definitely a impressive run here for sure. As
we await the rest of the top 3 to join us here, Dylan, I believe, though, you're catching up with our 3rd place finisher, the driver of the 23 machine stage 1 winner, Vincent Cortez.
And Vincent bringing home a 3rd place position. How did you feel there towards the end of the run as you were struggling with tires?
Not the best. I'll keep it real. I feel like I've really lost the race going on pit road there. Just wasn't ready when they dropped the jack. It's not that clean air is important. It's not like dirty air slows you down or makes the car really tight or anything. It's just having that car in front of you and having to brake when he brakes or something like that. It just makes the car drive a little awkward. So I tried rolling it back, saving tires, but I don't know. It's like under technicality, it's a fixed setup league, but I don't know. I don't really race open that much, and I think it started to show.
Now everybody else was running on rails there towards the end of the run. Like we were saying, tires definitely played a factor as it was noticeable on track for everyone. Did you have to adjust your driving style throughout the run?
Not too much. It's it's I feel like toward like that last run when I was like, you know what, we're just gonna lay everything on the table. I tried to undercut, didn't quite get there, and he had about 2 lap fresher tires. Like I'm just gonna push not as hard as I can, but push probably about like 80%, 90% to the end. And I feel like if I did that earlier, it might have worked because I honestly didn't feel it until probably 10 to go, and I was like, it's on ice skates. Might as well put on a little show. But track changes a little bit, so of course you got to change your driving style a little bit. But all in all, I feel like it was a good run. I'm basically in a must win because I decided to miss like I don't know 8 races. So good points day. We'll hopefully secure that top 25 just in case I do get that win if that happens. But I don't know. Nice clean top 3 day.
Very good drive, man.
Appreciate you.
That was the driver of the 23 machine, Vincent Cortez, who will come home third in tonight's race after winning stage number 1. But it is time, I do believe, as we await the 12 machine of Dustin Montgomery, our second place finisher. Let's waste no time. Let's get down in victory lane and talk to our race winner, a man who wins this.
Honestly, just trying to conserve the rear tires. I was kind of happy that the rear tires were wearing off like they did. I was kind of just getting a feel for it in the beginning because I hadn't done any long runs this week to prepare for it. So I was trying to figure that out and practice a little bit, and kind of got an idea of what I needed to do that first run before the stage caution there, and was just trying to master it, and that's really all it was about. That's all I was trying to focus on, is just saving the rear tires, because I'm telling you, even after you get it heated up, there's no cooling it back down, because once you scorched them, you're done and you're going to be all over the place. So just trying to keep the rear grip underneath the car coming off the corner, and luckily we were able to figure out how to do that. And I feel like that second to last run, I kind of got in a rhythm there and was able to build a decent gap before the pit stops. That way I could hang out an extra lap after them and have 1 lap fresher tires for that last run, and was able just to kind of manage the gap back to Vincent and Dustin there. So just happy we're able to do it. Congrats to Dustin and Vincent for the podium finishes. They were really quick tonight as well. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and looking throughout the race outline, I think you just touched on it there, the accumulation of data. You watched Vincent Cortez win stage number 1. Through that stage and through some of these pit stops, did you start to maybe tinker with the car, play with things a little bit that caused you to not only win that race off a pit road, but to separate in that late run?
I didn't really change up too much at the pit stop. I did mess with the brake bias a little bit and got that dialed in, and that really helped me for entry. And so I think that helped a little bit. But after the stage caution, I started to manipulate the line just a little bit, because I felt like I had reeled in, got by Dustin, he let me go, and then I got up to Vincent before that stage caution and just started to get a little bit too free, I guess, getting excited trying to get around Vincent or whatnot. But so I finally dialed in the line that second run, and like you said, it's just a accumulation of data. You just gotta figure out what works best, and it's more than just running slower early in the run, saving your tire. There's a little bit of finesse to it to try to keep a little bit of pace in the car and still, keep the rear tires on it. So definitely an effort by our team tonight. I feel like Dustin, he did really good and got back to second there. So congrats to everybody, and shout out to all the guys for the long green flag runs. That was really cool.
Yeah, we see you second in that points table. Now this gives you 3 wins on the season. And Tyler, we head to the high banks of sweet home Talladega. Do you think you continue this confidence, this momentum you got rolling to the high banks?
I hope so. It's my home track, so got to do well there. And
That's it.
we won Daytona earlier in the year and won our duel there. So I feel like we have at least a little bit of an upper hand with the teammates we have, and we all really work really well together at the super speedway track. So I feel like we'll have a good showing there and try to get another W.
Tyler, before I let you go, my man, as we have you here in Victor Lane, is there anybody you wanted to shout out or any sponsors that help put that six machine in Victor Lane?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Liquid Molly for being on the car as always. Shout out to everybody in the league. Thanks to all my teammates at Phase 2 Chassis Works, and thank you guys for broadcasting tonight.
Winner of the Z Grills Series at New Hampshire, the six machine of Tyler Justice. Congratulations from us here at the Speed Racing Network. Go enjoy this victory. We can't wait to see you next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
That was Tyler Justice, the winner here tonight, Dylan. And it looks like our second place finisher of Dustin Montgomery is still late to the booth here. But as we await to see if he's going to join us up here, Dylan, what are your thoughts here about a week at New Hampshire for the Speed Racing Network culminates with this great race here tonight? What are your thoughts? And have you had some fun up here in the booth the last two nights?
I've had a bunch of fun, but I'm more excited to get back to racing next week. Being in the position that I am in points, I'm looking forward to get back to racing. I am possibly in a must-win situation. Seventh place at New Hampshire was a perk to the playoffs, coming up, but definitely just a great showcase here all week from all three series as to what the Speed Racing Network provides for all the viewers. And thank you again, viewers, for tuning in. It's just been a great thing to be a part of this week, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Absolutely, and has been and it's been an absolute blast to have you up here in the booth, Dylan. I think having a driver up here in the booth, like myself, I don't do as much driving or high racing experience as, say, your side of things. So I think it provides an excellent point of view for the viewers at home, a real insider point of view, if you will, Dylan. So again, I want to say thank you for joining me up here. It's been a blast having you. And these two races at New Hampshire, I think, man, they played out exactly what we talked about to begin the race. It was sort of that experimentation stage, gaining notes. And then the last half of the race, you started to see those battles, those strategies, and it exactly played out as we saw with tonight's winner of Justice.
Yeah, definitely been a great showcase for all of the series here, and it's been a pleasure getting to tune in and, commentate and watch some talent be put on display here.
Well, folks, it looks like that'll just about do it for us here at the Speed Racing Network. We want to thank all of our sponsors here on this Thursday night, Z Grills as well as Admin Box. Go check out Admin Box. Use that code at checkout to make sure you get that discounted Admin Box. Boy, if you don't know what that thing is, we invite you to go check it out. Use code SRN Box for 10% off of that device. But once again, it is Tyler Justice winning the race here at New Hampshire. The six machine, as mentioned, we go to the high banks of sweet home Talladega next week here in all three of our series. And we're getting down to the nitty gritty. As Dylan mentioned, playoff time is right around the corner. He's ready to get back into the car to make sure he secures his playoff spot. I know these drivers get ready to get back in the cars as well. But folks, we have to wait until next week for more high racing action here on the Speed Racing Network. For myself, William Tiller, Dylan Godinez, and James Parfit, this has been a Speed Racing Network production. Tonight's winner, Tyler Justice from New Hampshire.